news.
Stop the music. It's time for news.
Heading all the way across the big pond into London town for the drone news with, oh my goodness, it's Sean, Geeks Fauna. Welcome.
It's me.
That's
Hi.
you. That's you. Thanks for sitting in. And of course, having the English accent will give the news so much more gravitas.
Well, I don't know about that. Jeff has all the gravitas in the drone news sphere, certainly.
Jeff has gravitas. You have gravitas. All right, what do we got?
Okay, well, first up, what would you say if I asked you about flying cows? Well, this story actually refers to something covered previously by Jeff Sills, the awesome Jeff Sills on TNL News. This week, drones were used to provide cell service to areas hit hard by Hurricane Ida. AT&T's Flying Cow, which actually stands for Cell on Wings, is a new technology aimed at providing wireless coverage during natural disasters and also big events. The drone basically becomes a cell site to beam wireless LTE coverage across an area of, wait for it, 40 square miles.
Wow.
It's incredible.
Wow.
The drone is weather resistant and can withstand extreme conditions. The thermal imaging can also give ground units support in things like search and rescue and obviously help find people in buildings. The tethered drone could hover at about 300 feet with the data being transferred via the cable down to the ground station and then out via a router. So this is something which is really impressive. And I know it's something that Jeff has followed closely since I think it was about 12 months ago that he showed their first trial versions. But this is actually one in the wild, as it were, doing the job.
That is really cool. And on a side note, I would much rather be a victim of a natural disaster than a natural disaster. Doesn't it sound a little bit more polite?
Yes.
I say,
So
Ken,
much nicer.
yes, you've got a natural disaster heading your way. I'd be like, oh, really? No big deal.
Yeah, you can imagine 911 calls in this sort of old English thing, can't you? Hello, terribly sorry to bother you, operator. I seem to have had a tree fall on my house. After what has been a week that would have disappointed some drone fans, including the host of this show, Ken Heron, will be a little bit disappointed to see that DJI released the OM5 phone gimbal this week, not the Phantom 5. Sorry, Ken. Yeah, a lightweight device with a built-in selfie stick. Because we all need one of those, right?
Great.
You know,
Didn't selfie sticks go out with fanny packs? I thought we got over them. Weren't we over them?
It's a manual selfie stick as well. It's not as if it's some cool thing that like. Bzz. You have to pull the thing. Anyway.
Oh, it's not a button, and it just.
No.
It's not,
You pull the thing out.
Oh, that'll be on the 6.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, they're holding back the motor for the 6.
Stop making gimbals, DJI. Go back to what you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, Focus, obviously now that's out of the way, Focus is now back on the rumored release of the DJI Mavic 3.
Ooh.
There's a Brazilian content creator, Drone Modelismo, who's an awesome guy, and hi if you're watching. He's released a video showing renderings, which he claims are actually from photos of the drone. So essentially he's got hold of some photos of the Mavic 3 and created some artistic renderings of them because they're not allowed to release the actual photographs. Now, although these specs are, of course, still only rumored, if it's true, it would appear that the Mavic 3 is actually coming along the line nicely. If they're starting to be out there in the leak world, as it were, and this will obviously be the first consumer drone release, which actually uses a multi-lens camera similar to a smartphone, which I'm not sure how I feel about, but we'll have to. DJI tend to get it right, so
well, look, whatever it is,
see what happens.
Whatever it is, it's going to be light years ahead of the previous version, and your previous version is just going to be worthless. You're not even going to want it. You'll be embarrassed if you fly that old thing out in public because everybody's going to see you and like, oh, he doesn't have the latest and greatest. What kind of a pilot can he be? Because I mean,
right.
that's the mentality of a lot of people. Like, oh well, I'm going to buy this new thing that's better and more expensive. It's going to make me a better pilot. No, it's not. Practice will. So
No, that's not true. That's not. It's always not. The more expensive the equipment, the better you're going to be at it.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. You're right. It's not practice. It's not. I mean, it's not like you take a great pilot and give him a Phantom 2 and he's just going to make crap with it. He's got to have the most expensive thing. You're right. I'm sorry. My bad. Back to you in the news.
So as far as release, obviously with things like Chipageddon going on at the moment and the chip shortage, I don't think it's going to be any time soon. Whether or not we see a Mini 3 first, maybe, or something, who knows? I think the release schedule is completely out of whack, which is the whole reason why we ended up seeing a DJI Mini SE, so that they could bring in a little bit more revenue. Which brings us on to our next story, because it appears that other drone manufacturers are kind of listening to DJI and obviously watching them. So more on drone releases, and Hubsan have followed up on their Xeno Mini Pro release, which was average, has to be said, with the announcement of an SE version. Now, the model insignia, as I was saying, was first seen on the DJI Mini SE, and just shows how much the others are following their lead. Many have been disappointed with the main Pro release, citing camera issues and withheld launch specifications. So essentially, the spec promised wasn't on the drone at launch. It is interesting to see them announce an SE product with reduced specification, especially when it seems that they haven't really caught up with the orders for the main drone yet. So it's an interesting one, and it's going to be a very interesting few weeks to see how it plays out.
And they're claiming what, 45 minutes of flight time?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How much flight time do we really need? Like what?
I need at least an hour and 26 minutes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because then you run out of SD card space.
Exactly.
Right? I mean,
well, but that only works if you start recording the minute you take off, and you don't stop recording until you come and land, and then you sort through that hour and 26 minutes of footage later.
and by the way, you should do that.
For the one good shot that you got.
You should do that, really, most of the time. Just leave it recording if you can. Because you never know what's going to happen. Unless you're on a job and you know what you're wanting to film, like you. Okay.
True.
But, yeah, I mean, there's going to come a time where graphene battery technology, some kind of magic crystal technology that we don't even know about, that will come along, and it'll be like 2-hour flight time. And okay, at that point we're like, oh, good. Well, all right, you know.
I'm just waiting for the drone that just runs off the moisture in the air, or something like hydrogen fuel cell, that it just sucks in water out of the air and creates its own fuel.
Yeah. And one day we'll be able to fly anywhere with 5G and no connectivity issues. You know, this is still the Wild West.
It is
still the Wild West. Yep. Anyway, all right.
Well, up next we have another release, the Vcopter from 00. Has been an interesting concept. This is obviously by the name, this is the two-arm, two-motor drone concept, which has suffered from project drift and hold-ups, with many speculating it might even end up being pulled completely. However, it seems that 00 are at least launching the product in China today. The drone only uses two motors, and as the name suggests, it is just down to two arms, as you can see in this promotional video. Now, the dramatic spec claims again here, including a 50-minute flight time, which would be quite impressive with just the two motors. It will have to be taken with hopeful skepticism, I think, until we see the drone in the hands of some reliable and trusted reviewers. But it's interesting to see it get essentially what is a local release.
Is it gimmicky? I mean, do we... It's shocking to look at, just because we're used to 4 props on stuff. And
yeah, I think I struggle with it slightly because of the way they dealt with the whole release, where they took a lot of pre-orders and then, you know, didn't really give people information, so people ended up having to get lots of refunds, and it was very, very messy. So when I see the drone, I kind of think of that campaign and how they put things together. But you know, if it works, of course it would be fantastic. I just struggle to see how, you know, if there's a bit of wind and that type of thing, then even your sort of Air 2S's and your Minis start to have a little bit of stability issue. I'm not sure whether that whole pendular effect of the motors up here and all the body down here.
I get worried because there's more things that can go wrong. They showed it
exactly right
briefly in there with all the mechanisms and the cogs. You know, one of those gets out of the
whole motor tilting mechanism in there and stuff. That terrifies me.
Yeah, just because, and I say this all the time with technology, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
But it's still kind of cool, and people will buy it, I guess. But man, oh man, can you imagine crashing that thing? Because then you're gonna need a motor, then you're gonna need the mechanism, then the arm. You know, it'll be a lot more expensive to crash, and they will crash it. But anyway, I digress.
You do indeed.
Yes.
The USV acronym is not one. Sorry, I'm actually trolling the host there. Apologies. The USV acronym is not one we're used to as much as UAV, but this footage of the US Navy's unmanned surface vessel, or USV, might make you actually remember it in the long term. The drone ship forms part of what is called. Are you waiting? This is an incredible program name. Ghost Fleet Overlord. Is that not cool?
Okay, they've got a millennial naming these things now. Yeah, because it sounds like a video game, right?
Yeah.
Ghost Protocol. It's a Ghost Protocol, man.
This particular footage shows the vessel firing an SM-6 missile using an experimental launcher. The program is intended to explore the capabilities of drone warships and how they operate in the real-world scenario. So this is a real-world test to see if all of their calculations are correct. And it's pretty scary to think that, the future of war is going to be drone on drone on drone on drone.
Oh yeah, I mean unmanned stuff. It's less expensive to the. Oh, there's the train. Thanks, train. I scheduled the train that goes half a block from my house to not happen during the show, but they didn't get the memo this time, but that's all right. But yeah, man, hey, the more autonomy, the better. The cheaper the cost on humanity, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, eventually we're gonna run out of stuff, aren't we? Or will there be, when Boston Robotics perfects their T1000 eventually, or I guess it would be the T200 first. They've got to go through a few iterations before they get up there to the liquidy
It'll
guy.
take them a few steps to get to the 1000.
Right, but I see those Boston Robotic things dancing around. Like, oh hell, I might see a Terminator in my lifetime. Okay. But, all right, I love technology, love it. That's why we're all here, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, up next, we have another stunning example of man interacting with marine life, captured in a way that only a drone can do. The unique footage shot over the Bay of Puerto Madryn along Argentina's coast shows a southern right whale, which is actually the species, getting up close and personal with the photographer Maxie Jones. Now, interestingly, in an interview with Talam, Jonas actually tells the paper that there is a provincial law prohibiting contact with this type of marine life, such as the whales, but it doesn't mention anything about the whales coming to see you, of course.
Right. Hey, I was just standing there. I didn't go to the whale. The whale came to me.
Yeah, and it actually goes across on its side here, which is pretty cool. And it does, when I first saw this story of a whale playing with someone in the water, I thought, yeah, he's trying to eat him or something. He's trying to check out if he can eat him or kill him.
He wants somebody to take that paddle and scratch his belly. That's what he wants.
Yeah, but actually the mannerisms and the way it's swimming, it does kind of look like it's having a little play with him. It went on his side, which is quite exposing a lot of its sort of underbelly, etc. And yeah, it's really cool. Amazing drone footage, though. This guy is a professional photographer, and he has got some other cool stuff in his time, but he does place this right at the top of the things that he's captured.
That's so cool to see this. I've never seen a whale in person. I guess, Jake, you have, right?
Oh yeah, quite a few.
What is it like? What kind of whales have you seen up there in Alaska?
I've seen orcas, or more commonly known as killer whales.
Yeah.
I've seen humpback whales, very close to humpback whales, and those things are gigantic when you get close to them. I was kayaking in June this year, and a bunch of little porpoises, which are, I say little, they're still 6 feet big, long, all came up right next to the kayak, and we're all just kind of bopping along.
Oh, that's cool.
Minke whales, which are another filter feeder whale. They look like miniature blue whales. And
so you've seen a lot of whales.
I've seen a lot of whales. Yeah.
Wow. You've probably seen
and
two.
It's always cool to see them every single time. It's like, it's amazing to see a creature that big and just how they interact with the environment and the stuff they do. It's really
Do they
cool.
ever get near calving glaciers? Or do they know better? I guess they can hear all that cracking underwater, right?
Oh yeah. They keep a pretty good distance away. Partly because they're usually just chasing their food, the krill or whatever they're eating, the herring, or in the case of killer whales, the salmon. And so generally there's not a lot around there. The only thing the orcas will do is go into like the debris field of glaciers where the icebergs are all sitting out there, and they'll team up and hit an iceberg with a wave so that it'll wash seals off or knock the seal off the iceberg so they can get it.
Poor
they're
seals,
super
man.
intelligent, and they're actually quite terrifying as a predator because they're incredibly intelligent and they work really well together. But thankfully, we're not on their menu. So
Man, it would suck to be a seal. I mean, you got the polar bears and everything's. They're just. What do seals do? I mean, they're lunch. That's what they are. Seals. Anyway, all right. Sorry, Sean. We
Hey,
got off on a tangent there. Go ahead.
sidetracked on whales. I thought we were talking about my ex there for a minute.
Oh, dear.
Whoa.
Oh.
I thought you were gonna when he kept talking about whales and the size of the whale. I thought the Ken Heron comedy would kick in, so I thought I had to step up. So,
Thanks.
Okay. Next story. Could this be the tech which actually extends the tennis career of our very own Kelly Green into his twilight years?
Oh.
Anyone for badminton? Researchers at the University of Tsukuba in Japan have developed a way of allowing the visually impaired to take part in the sport of badminton. Using a telo drone, which of course could be coded in so many ways to do so much, and placing it within a cage, the players then use a specially created racket, which includes sensors, allowing the drone to be sent back across the court to the opponent. The smart rackets have no strings, as you would hope, because otherwise that would end badly, and instead use sensors which detect the telo flying inside the hoop, and then those sensors then tell the drone to go back across, which is pretty clever. Whilst researching the issue, they found that many visually impaired players of the sport found the game to be too fast-paced. So therefore, this slower version and audio-focused gameplay helped them to at least participate, which I think is great. I mean, it seems to me this is the kind of thing that actually researchers do, and obviously it's doing something great because it's helping visually impaired people enjoy sport that they've played for years. But you often find other things will get sort of spurred out of it, if that makes sense.
Okay, good, because I was just going to say, how many people, hard of seeing or not, want to play badminton? I mean, it's right in the name, bad. I mean, I can't remember the last time I played badminton, but sure, this has to be somebody's research project for college or something, because I don't see any real use of it.
It's a university research project. So
okay.
Yeah, and as I say, I think with these things, there's always what happens next. So that guy then goes on to be an Elon Musk or something, or takes those innovations and they actually find something completely irrelevant to badminton or sport whatsoever. I don't know. They find that
using
a new innovation for an elevator,
using that technology. But let me say this: I've had friends who were blind, and I had one friend that was born blind. So this badminton thing would be for people who remember seeing, because
yes,
if you're born blind, you have no reference of memory of what a ball does when you hit. You know what I mean? Like it would be easier for someone who remembers seeing to do something like that.
Yes,
it's unfortunate that Kelly Green isn't in the chat right now, because Sean did say at the beginning it's for people like Kelly Green who, in their twilight years, can still play badminton.
Yeah,
right.
They might struggle.
Right. I'll have some video. He's actually, I think he's in Bowling Green for a championship, so he might win the state championship. And I'll have some video of him and his. He hangs his racket on his walker. He's in the he's in the over 50 league. So I tease because I love. Back to you in the newsroom.
Okay, now when you're looking at anything, you can really claim it's a world's first. You get these weird things, don't you, where it's like, this is a world's first, but sometimes you have to assess whether or not it's a world first because no one's been crazy enough to try it, frankly. Mm-hmm. And YouTuber and paramotor expert Greg Anthony Harris has performed the first air-to-air delivery of fast food. It's actually from a popular UK chain called Greg's. So there you go. They went and got their little sausage roll. Now, this seems like something crazy to try, but the exercise was actually developed by Greg as part of his efforts to help paramotor users and drone pilots, of which he is both, to understand the potential dangers of sharing the airspace and help each other to make it a safer process.
Because the whole video.
The
whole video is a cautionary tale. And a demonstration of what not to do, but yeah, we did it. So the guy flying the drone is not your cousin Skippy. It's a world-class FPV drone pilot.
Yes,
and
exactly.
please don't do this. But it was cool to see that it could be done. But don't do that. Don't do that. And the rest of the video is very informative.
Also, don't go out and just fly around paramotor people who are paramotoring or parasailing around.
No.
You just don't do that.
No.
Yeah, no, I would recommend wholeheartedly watching the whole video, because literally that is the clicky bit to get people to go watch it, which is great because lots of drone people are like, oh, I'm going to go watch that. And then he does actually demonstrate. He actually gets the sails and flies FPV drones into them at full speed to show the damage it could cause. And it really came about because he is a professional FPV pilot and, as I say, a paramotor expert. And he was getting some great footage one day flying these FPV drones around them. And he thought to himself, actually, if these things did connect, there could be a lot of trouble here. So that was actually the whole reason behind that.
Yeah, there's some high
speed heart of the cool video.
There's some high speed camera footage of what happens when a drone hits a paramotor carbon fiber blade.
Pretty.
It's not pretty, and it's very expensive and dangerous. So don't do it. But
yes.
All right, let's endeavor to get through the rest of the news quickly, because our very special guest Josh Bixler is no doubt standing by and waiting for us to stop that. Yes,
Well,
I'm being told by
the imaginary producer's telling me we have only 3 more stories left.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so EHang are at it again. This again is a story which Jeff covers often, with beyond visual line of sight trials to allow their passenger aircraft to defeat traffic issues around airports. Now, essentially what will happen is people will be able to take the EHang craft from, I don't know, let's say you're flying from JFK, you'll be able to fly from sort of downtown Manhattan at a particular port area, heliport, and fly across to the airport to catch your flight rather than clogging up the area with vehicle traffic. Now, the trial was made possible by special permission of the Estonian Transport Administration, and it demonstrated how manned and unmanned can actually share the airspace using U-Space UTM. Pretty cool.
That is pretty cool, but I'm going to wait until a few people ride this thing before I get on it. I mean, it looks like they put a lot. I mean, it is. EHang is, of all the these things, this is probably the one that I would ride. But you know, as well as anybody else in the aviation world, people usually have to get hurt or die with regular aircraft before they change or update anything. So I'm going to wait until version 2.0 at least.
Exactly. And you have to worry about getting out of those with the props below.
Right. Yeah, there's not
any
going
kind
to be
of emergency situation. You've got to jump out quickly.
Yeah, there's not going to be.
Oh, my legs.
There's going to be an inflatable slide that pops out.
Yeah. Oh, you would hope so.
With a Kevlar bottom.
Upside down.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, up next, and Oklahoma police recently deployed a drone to successfully locate a suspect, which is a first for the department.
That officers had got into. Subject had bailed out of a vehicle. They believed that he might be armed. They advised that the suspect had went down into a drainage ditch. So it was a steep embankment that both, it was rocky, so it was difficult ingress and egress out. There was little cover or concealment for officers to go down there and try to apprehend the suspect. So whenever they contacted me, they asked me if I could deploy the drone, and I did. And in doing so, our drone has different attachments that you can utilize for certain situations. One has a loudspeaker to give commands to a suspect. Another one has a spotlight, and the other one provides a strobe function. With that too, it's got a built-in thermal imaging system. So I was able to attach my spotlight to it, and I was able to hover down almost at an eye level and spot the suspect inside the canal. And in doing so, officers and I were able to give him commands, and he was able to surrender peacefully without us having to take any type of force.
Wow. Is there a dumbass uniform? Is that worldwide? Do they wear wife beater shirts in the UK? Criminal idiots.
Not really. No. It's more sort of tracksuits here.
Oh, tracksuits. Well, you have to be comfortable when you're being cuffed and stuff,
exactly.
I guess. Yeah. Well, Sean, thank you so much. I'm going to let you go to bed. Betty bye now.
Thank you very much. Get well soon, Jeff. We love you.
All right, man.
Thanks for stopping by. Now get out.
We should probably mention remotepilot101.com. Isn't it a great place?
Great place.
It is a great place. Tell us about your place, Jason.
So Remote Pilot 101, no one has prepared more Part 107 pilots than us. And you'll be pleased, those of you who are current customers now, you're going to be experiencing version 3 and a brand new learning management system in about 2 weeks. So the best just keeps on getting better. RemotePilot101.com. Use promo code Heron18, which, by the way, Ken,
Yeah.
I can't brag on you enough. When we search promo codes, you know me, I'm all about our marketing and everything else. Heron18 is the most used promo code. Your people listen to you, Ken.
Yay! Thank
Seriously.
you, people. I appreciate that. And
That's cool.
you've been very busy updating the lessons too, because
There's not a every video has gotten a facelift. There's 76 videos in there. Every single one has gotten a facelift. The course has gone from 9 hours to almost 12 hours now. There's just so much new content. We're always trying to innovate, push new content. Now with all the recurrent tests changing so much, we're like, wow, we just launched our new course. We need to fix it now. So we're back to that. I was just reviewing some of the stuff our writers sent over earlier for some of the content, and there's some more great stuff coming out here soon as well.
and you take actual questions that test takers give you and kind of incorporate those in the quizzes too, right? So they're actual FAA questions.
We have a ton of data on that, no doubt. So yeah, and I always share, you know this, Ken, I call them the boot camps at the end, where I share, this is a question you're going to see on your knowledge test. Let's not memorize it. Let's understand the why behind it. But just to prepare them for the knowledge test. You know this though, Ken. I want you to be safe in the real world. My mission isn't just to pass a test. I want you safe when you're out there flying FPV, whatever it is, so you can be a light and be a mentor to everybody else that's out there wondering about what this new drone space is. Even though it's not that new, but to many it is so new. We have to be ambassadors to that.
You're a shining star, Jason. A shining star. Awesome.